Introduction to Corporate Governance, EOC questions. There are 10 questions in your reading Corporate Governance. Corporate governance complies with a set of global standards. Yes, there are global standards. Those who studied ACCA or CMA, they would know that there are certain global standards. Cadbury report on corporate governance, Hempel report, combined code. But they are not mandatory. They are just adopted voluntarily, unless, yes, if your regulator like SECP or under the government laws, under the corporate governance laws, if they have been embedded in the law, then you are required to follow those standards. Unless it is a part of law, adopting these global standards of corporate governance are not mandatory. They are voluntary, entirely dependent upon the organizational context. So this is not true. Corporate governance is independent of both shareholder theory and stakeholder theory. No, they are not independent. In fact, they are dependent. Both of these are part of corporate governance. You just don't focus on the shareholders' interest. You take interest of these other stakeholders, your customers, suppliers, your bankers, creditors, etc., etc. Yes, so corporate governance seeks to minimize and manage conflicting interest. Shareholder wants highest return. For that, they are willing to take more risk. At the same time, the creditors, they don't. So managing these conflicting interest, this is the responsibility of the corporate governance. Seek, minimize and manage conflicting interest between insiders and external shareholders. True. C is the right answer. Next. Which group of company stakeholders would least affected if the firm's financial position worsens? Least, mind the word. Suppliers, they are affected. Their payments would be in jeopardy if the company is in trouble. Managers and employees, their jobs will be in danger. They will be affected. But customers, they are not as much interest. They will be affected, but they will be least affected. So that makes B to be the correct option. Next. Which of the following represents a principal-agent conflict between shareholders and management? Principal-agent, as I said, shareholders are the principal, management and directors are the agents who act on behalf of the principal. So which of these represents a conflict between shareholders? Risk tolerance, yes. Risk tolerance is a conflict. Why? Shareholders are willing to take on more risk because they know by taking more risk they can get more reward. They have themselves diversified their portfolio, but by taking more risk they expect more returns. But the management and the directors, they will not be willing to take more risk. They will be held responsible then. So they are less risk of what you can say, they are more risk tolerant. They will be willing to take less risk. So this is one of the reasons that there is a conflict of risk tolerance between the principal and the agent. Principal is willing to take on more risk, whereas the agent, the management and directors, since they have to secure their jobs, so they will not be willing to take on more risk. So that's straightforward. No need to look for any further. Risk tolerance is the conflict between these two entities. Which of the following issues discussed at the stakeholder general meeting would most likely require only simple majority for approval? Voting for merger is a very serious issue. Merger is a serious issue. It requires special resolution. Amendment of bylaws, this is again an issue. So the major issue requires super majority, that is 2/3 or sometimes 3/4 of the votes. But election of directors, it simply requires simple majority. So A and C are serious matters requiring some special issues, some special resolution. So involve super majority, that's either 2/3 or 3/4 of the total, whereas election of directors involves simple majority. That is B. B is the right answer. Which of the following statements regarding stakeholders management is most accurate? Company's management ensures compliance with all applicable laws and regulations. We also have risk committee as well. But since this is specifically not related to stakeholders management, compliance with the laws and regulations is not directly influenced with stakeholders management. Directors are excluded from voting on transactions in which they hold material interest. Yes, that makes sense. Directors might have, let's say, a certain director A has financial interest in company X Incorporated, and our company is going to undertake some sort of contractual arrangement with X Incorporated. So A must not be included in the decision making. You should be recused, should be separated from the decision making process. So directors are excluded from voting on transactions in which they hold material interest. That's correct, accurate. The use of variable incentive plans. What is variable incentive plan? You get a fixed salary plus you get performance related compensation or performance related pay. That is variable incentive plan. That is tied to your performance. So the use of variable incentive plans in executive remuneration is decreasing. No, it is increasing. Wrong. So it means the most accurate statement is directors are excluded from voting on transactions in which they hold material interest. That makes B to be the correct option. Next, which of the following represents responsibility of company's board of directors? Responsibility of board of directors. Implementation of strategy. This is not the responsibility of directors. Directors will give the direction. Its implementation strategy and its implementation is done by the management, subordinate management, the corporate officers. Considering the interest of shareholders only, this is a narrow view. Both shareholders, stakeholders view is considered. Yes, enterprise risk management, this is viewed at the board level. The board typically ensures that the company has an appropriate ERM in place so that the business can achieve its objectives. So that makes B to be the correct option. Which of the following statements about non-market factors in corporate governance is most accurate? Stakeholders can spread information quickly and shape public opinion. Yes, true. Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, social media has made it possible that stakeholders are now connected through WhatsApp groups, through Twitter, so they can spread information quickly and shape public opinion. Correct. A civil law, we discussed the civil law, is a codified law. It's prescribed law, prescriptive, descriptive, written. This law is good for creditors, suppliers, right? So civil law offers better protection to shareholders. No, shareholders are better protected under common law, the law that evolves with the passage of time, through evolution, through case laws, through past court orders. This is the law that is established through the court orders. So it evolves. So that's why it can take on more subjective issues related to shareholders. So remember, civil law protects creditors and suppliers better, whereas the common law protects shareholders better. We discussed this previously as well. So this is other way around. That's why it's the wrong option. Vendors providing corporate governance services have limited influence on corporate governance practices. In fact, they have now major influence. As I said, the leading audit firms, the Big Four and others as well, they are providing corporate governance services, external corporate governance services. Just like internal audit has now been outsourced, it's externally managed by audit firms. Corporate governance is also being offered by audit firms. They help you structure senior management. They provide you support for the design of a system of internal controls. And what are internal controls? Discussed in CIA and CM in detail. It's a system of check and balance that ensures to a reasonable level that your operations are efficient and effective, your financial reporting is reliable, and the compliance with laws and regulation is made. ERC, remember, whenever the word internal control comes, you should recall to your mind the ERC. Everything really counts. Efficiency and effectiveness of operations, reliability of financial reporting, and compliance with the applicable laws, regulations, and contracts. So this is not true. They are influencing larger organizations. They design their system of corporate governance. So this is incorrect as well. So the correct option was A. Next, which of the following statement regarding corporate shareholders is most accurate? Most accurate. Cross shareholdings help promote corporate mergers. A holds some shares in B, B holds some shares in A, C holds some shares in C, C holds some shares in A, and this is a mismatch of shareholdings. So cross shareholding help promote corporate mergers. Not necessary. These companies are operating in individual capacities as separate legal entities, and everybody is getting a return on the investments so it's not necessary. It's not necessarily they might promote corporate mergers. Dual class structures are used to align economic ownership with control. No. In fact, they are to separate economic interest with control. That's why we have two classes structure. To separate the economic ownership with control. Someone else is holding the control, someone else is managing someone else has the ownership. That means B is not the right answer, then it has to be C then. Affiliated shareholders can protect a company against hostile takeover. A, B, C, affiliated shareholders, they hold shares in company X. So if there is a hostile takeover, someone wants to take X Incorporated by force by acquiring shares in the stock market and holding more than 50%, mean you can completely change the composition of the shareholdings and the board of directors. So ABC jointly can protect this company from hostile takeover. So affiliated shareholders can jointly protect a company against hostile takeover. That's a correct statement. Absolutely right. C is the right answer. Which of the following statement about environmental, social and governance and ESG is correct? ESG factors are strictly intangible in nature. Not intangible. Not all of them are intangible. They affect your environment, water conservation, oil extraction from the earth's surface, mineral deposit depletion. So they are not all the intangible. They affect your future generations. ESG terminology is easily distinguishable among investors. It's a subjective term. There is element of subjectivity in ESG. It is still is quite a misunderstood concept in the minds of many investors. It's a subjective term, and it's not easily understandable and not easily distinguishable between investor A and B. So this is wrong as well. Environmental and social factors have been adopted in investment analysis and more slowly than the governance factors, taking time. Governance is there the last many hundreds of years, but ESG is the new phenomena. It has taken roots in about 15 to 20 years ago, as we became aware that our existence is in threat. As the environmental degradation goes on, we might be buried under the sand, or maybe we might drown as the glaciers melt. So this is a very serious concern. So it is gaining importance, but it didn't got adopted as quickly as the corporate governance factors were. So that makes C to be the correct option. Which of the following statements regarding ESG implementation method is most accurate? Negative screening is the most commonly applied method. Negative screening means we won't invest in such organizations that are involved in environmental degradation. Mining, petroleum extraction, timber trading. This is something we don't like to invest in such companies. This negative screening is most commonly applied method. You won't invest in XYZ? Yes. Invest anywhere else. Makes sense. Thematic investing considers multiple factors? No, just one factor. One single factor. Relative best-in-class screening excludes industries with unfavorable ESG aspects. That is negative screening. This is wrong as well. So that makes A to be the correct option. And that ends your EOC questions.